just chilling here in my living room. It's a little different than what you're used to seeing. I'm going to do something a little different. Something that I had been planning since I had started my channel was that April 4th is Dercums Disease Awareness Day. And that is the disease that I have. And since that day is coming up, I wanted to make this video and explain to you guys what Dercums disease is. It isn't to, say woe is me or get sympathy or anything like that. It's to bring awareness. It is a disease that is rare, and it took me a lot of years of being misdiagnosed to actually get my diagnosis. And I want to just put it out there because there may be somebody else that may share the same symptoms, that are going through the same things I had to go through to find the right specialist to be able to help me with my disease. The shirt I'm wearing is Care About Rare. I got this at a rare disease conference that my husband and I attended in California. It had a lot of researchers and doctors that just deal with rare diseases there, and we were able to sit side by side with them, learn about different rare diseases and what all's out there and options for research. That was a great experience, but just going to take you back to how this all started. And I know there's probably going to be, even though this is a rare disease and most of you may have not even heard of it, there's some things in here that other people with chronic diseases can relate with. And, it's just about bringing awareness to what people struggle with. It's not just me. There's a lot of women and men out there that deal with chronic disease on a daily basis and what they go through. And it just helps to bring that awareness to other people that may see us on the street and not know what's going on. They may not know anything's going on until, you tell them. So it started, I got married to my husband, Marty, 13 years ago. We've been married 13 years. But I was already starting to show signs of something going on before that. We didn't know what it was. At first, we got a misdiagnosis of fibromyalgia because all I knew, I was in an extreme amount of pain all the time. And that only got worse as the disease started to progress. And, but I would have, so about 13 years ago, and then in 2011, it got so bad that I was unable to work anymore. We had to make the decision to go down to one income, and I had to quit working because I had worked at my job for 17 years. Absolutely loved my job, and I loved the people I worked with, and I had a huge clientele basis. It was at the same company for 17 years, and I had a huge clientele basis that would not deal with anybody other than with me, and I just really loved it. I loved that connection I had with customers, and I just never saw myself not doing that job. And so anyways, it got to the point where I knew I could not even make it through a day at work. I couldn't be on my feet. I couldn't raise my arms. I would get home and my kids wouldn't get anything out of me because I would be literally curled up in a ball, not being able to move. And taking it back to then also, I'd had 4 children. Marty and I had Tanner, and he's going to be 12 in June. And I had 4 children. After having my 4th child, went right back down to the same size I've been my whole entire life. And I weighed about 120 pounds. I was even though at that time I was still feeling bad, I was still exercising. I loved to go to the gym and exercise at home. I always exercised. I always did some kind of exercise. Was always doing, if I couldn't get to the gym, then I was doing crunches, and I was doing leg lifts, and I was doing all these different things that I could do at home. I had a treadmill at home that I would actually use, and stuff like that. So very active. Played softball growing up, even into high school. I was always in some kind of aerobics class, always active, okay? Pretty fit, pretty strong for having 4 kids, and working full time. And so anyways, I'm telling you all that because as this disease started to progress, I would start to gain weight that I could not explain. I was not eating anymore. I was eating a fairly healthy diet, but nothing different than what I was doing before. I was still trying to exercise, even though it caused so much pain. I was still trying to do it because I enjoyed it. And I was still gaining weight, and I did not know why I was gaining all this weight, and I could not lose it. And so this started and I was having weird symptoms, like I was having some neurological type issues where I felt like I woke up in the middle of the night and my heart slowed way down. And needless to say, I mean, there's some other things that happened there, and I'm not going to share. It's very private, but pretty much I was slumped over on the toilet in the middle of the night, and I really felt like I was dying. My heart had slowed down to a really slow beat, and it was almost like an out-of-body experience, because I just felt like I wasn't going to make it. And I did, and I went through testing for epilepsy, and I went through all kinds of testing. Neurologists would just kind of throw their hands up. I've been to rheumatologists. I've been to endocrinologists. I've been to every single specialist that you can imagine that was out there. And nobody could come up with any answers. It was so frustrating. It got to the point where I'd have another neurology appointment. I would wait 10 months to go in to see a neurologist after something crazy was happening. Milk production, when I had precancer. Let's back way up. I had precancer in one of my breasts when I was 28, and I've had mammograms every year since then, since I was 28 years old. I'm 42 right now. Then they had found cancer cells in my uterus when I was pregnant with my last son, Tanner. And they wanted me to abort him. And I looked at the doctor and I said, no. I said, regardless of if there's cancer, and because they told me if I didn't, that the cancer would spread like wildfire throughout my body, and that I had other kids to think about, and that I needed to go home and talk to my husband, because that's not a decision that I should be making, just by myself. And I looked at the doctor and I said, it is a decision I will make by myself. God created this life inside me, and if it is my time to go, then it's my time to go. And I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to go home and consult my husband or my, and think about what would happen to them, because I knew God would take care of them too. And I told the doctor, if you're not comfortable with that, then I will find another doctor. And she grudgingly said, I'll do it, but we are going to check that cancer progression throughout your pregnancy on top of your actual checkups. And I said, that's fine. We can do that. So anyways, I had Tanner, and a few months later, they removed the uterus. The cancer did not spread an ounce. Okay, it was still precancer. It hadn't progressed. I never even had to have chemo or anything like that. They took the uterus out, but the doctor at the time decided to leave my ovaries in. 2 years later, I was having pain, went into the doctor. They felt on the ovaries. I'll remember it till this day, my family physician just kind of turning white, feeling as the exam was going on. the tumors that were in there. And she's like, you have tumors on your ovaries. And so they scheduled that pretty quickly, removed them. They were the size of grapefruits on each ovary. That's the pain that I was having. And one was benign, and the other one was a slow-growing cancer called serous cystin fibroma. And so still, early stage cancer, all gone, everything's gone. I still have mammograms, no more cancer. That's all good. Okay. Saying all that to say, once all that stuff was removed, then I started having random milk production. So they started looking into pituitary tumors. And that's all leading up to how I got diagnosed. The Lord intervened. That's just the way, whether you believe or you don't believe, this is what I believe. So I'm sharing my story, and I hope that, that you still enjoy, even if you don't believe, you still enjoy hearing this story, because everything I do in my life has faith attached to it. So it wasn't always that way, but I am now. When I went in to see my regular family physician, she had been on maternity leave, so they got me in with another doctor to read the CAT scan that they had done on my brain to see if I had a pituitary tumor because of that milk production. They said pituitary tumors sometimes will cause that. And since I didn't have any other reason to have milk production, since everything had been removed, they needed to find out what was causing this. And that was a life changer, because when I went in, it was a new doctor, and this new doctor had already been studying it, this rare disease that doctors don't even get taught this disease in medical school. So none of them know about it. Even though this disease, Dercums disease, has been around since the 1800s. There's medical records about Dercums disease in the 1800s. They just weren't being taught in medical school about it, so nobody knew. And so this doctor came in and she said, hey, is this what you're, are these the symptoms that you're having? And because at this point I was finding tumors. They were these little hard tumors all over in my body. And I would say at that point in time, there was hundreds, if not thousands. And I'll tell you more about the disease as it goes on. But she said, she felt, and she's like, is this what you're feeling? And I'm going to do some other testing. I'm going to rule out some other things. And at this point, this was 6 years ago that I got diagnosed. But up until then, things had progressed. Okay, so going back to 2013, from 2011 to 2013, going into specialists after specialists and doctors that were seeing me, and they'd say, you know what, if you would just lose weight, you would feel better. And so I would try to kick it in gear. I would starve myself. I went down to a 700 calorie. I was doing MyFitnessPal. I'd go down to 700 calories a day. That's all I'd eat, 700 calories. And I was still gaining weight at a rapid speed. Like I didn't know anything else to do other than to starve myself. And because I was doing everything I could, and I would work out until my body just would hurt and I couldn't do it anymore. I would do water aerobics. They would suggest water aerobics, and all these different things. And I did. Well, come to find out, she looks me over and she says, I think I know what maybe you have. I'm kind of bouncing back here. I just needed to put that in there. And she said, let me do some tests. We'll rule out some other things. And if this is what I think it is, there's one specialist in all of US, one. And she's in Tucson, Arizona. The crazy thing about that is that's where I was born, Tucson, Arizona. So I have to go see the specialist. She comes back, she does the test, she says, yes, this is what I really think that you have, and that you need to go see the specialist to confirm the diagnosis. So later that year, I did fly out, and this doctor was jam-packed full of appointments because she was having people fly from all over the U.S. and even from other countries to come see her. But she did get me in. She confirmed, yes, I have Dercums disease. Now, what Dercums disease are these tumors. They're benign tumors or lipomas, and they grow in the adipose tissue. So pretty much fat, okay? It's a fat disorder. And instead of just having fat from, eating too much or, what I mean, a high calorie diet, I have normal fat, what everybody else has, plus tumors all intertwined in that fat. Now, these tumors get bigger or they can be really small, but what they do is they bind together. And around my rib cage, they're just in ropes, and they twist around in the rib cage. And there was times where I'd have to go to the hospital. I couldn't even take a breath in because it hurt so bad around my rib cage. Like I'd have to, take real shallow breaths because to take in a deep breath would just cause excruciating pain. And, just any kind of movement just feels like burning, tearing, ripping inside of your body. Every single time you move, if you touch, it hurts. It causes nerve damage. So I have pretty bad nerve damage. It also causes, I have something called, I always get it wrong, but it's like Ehlers-Danlos, and it's a laxity of the joints. I don't have a severe form of it, but I do have laxity of joints to where my joints will dislocate, and I am double jointed in my elbows and my knees and my ankles, and that's all part of that kind of ties into the Dercums disease. And come to find out that these tumors get worse with lactic acid and inflammation. So all those years of somebody saying, you just need to lose weight, you just need to lose weight, you'll feel better if you just lose weight, I was causing more and more tumor growth. Because the more I exercise and push my body past the limit, it was causing more deterioration and more tumors. These tumors they can't be just removed. They can be removed in the beginning stages, like if you only have, several that they can just pluck out. But when it gets too far and extreme, where my body had taken it with overdoing it with lactic acid and inflammation, now it can't be removed because it's all over. I have them in my scalp. I have them underneath my chin and into my neck. They're so bad in my neck that when I can't put my head down without coughing, and at night I put pillows up underneath my head and tuck it up so that I breathe. Otherwise it'll cut the airway off from all the tumors that are in my neck. And just sometimes I can it'll start to swell up or in there, and it'll put pressure onto my vocal cords where it's like a struggle to get my voice out, that kind of thing. We found out that the tumors, it's like a connective tissue disease also because it goes within the connective tissues. It wraps around nerves, muscles, tendons. Sometimes I'll feel like this rubber band just snaps inside. It feels like a rubber band just snapping. And come to find out, all that kind of pain that I'm getting is because these tumors have tentacles. Sounds like an alien movie, but they have tentacles, and each tumor has tentacles that reach out and reach around nerves and muscles and tendons. And so sometimes those break. And that's why a lot of people that have had tumors removed, they may have for every one removed, 5 more grow back in its place. And And that's because if you don't get every single tentacle that is wrapped around things, then it causes more tumors. So there is no cure and there is no treatment. The pain is extreme. It's in the world's most painful diseases. It's in the top 3 of the world's most painful diseases. They say that a lot of people commit suicide that have this disease, unfortunately. I have hope in something, that's bigger than this. And so that's what gets me through. But I can definitely have days where it's like, this really sucks. And I'm tired of being in extreme pain every day. And, but every day is a new day. And I just get up and go on with a new day, And so, anyways, so I got in to see the specialist. Like I said, there's no cure, there's no treatment. We have tried different things to maybe slow down the progression, but nothing's going to cure it. And I've been to pain management where they've tried to put me on everything underneath the sun. And I'm telling you right now, where people get loopy on Percocets and Lortabs and all that stuff and it knocks them out, it doesn't even touch, not even the top tip of the pain. It's a layered pain. There's pain in the tissue, pain in the nerves. The tumors cause pain in themselves with pressure onto different areas. It causes bruising. There's a vascular pain because I get angiolipomas, and those are little angioplomas. They grow on the vessels and cause pain. Plus, I get blood clots from the superficial veins, where my blood vessels will cause clotting into the small veins, and that causes a lot of pain. So there's multiple reasons there's pain. There's not just like one specific kind of pain. And so you can't take anything that really helps with it. So I took myself off of all that stuff. I'm like, nope, I want to be clear-minded. And if this stuff is not helping with the pain, then it's no reason to be on it. So I took myself off of all that. 2 years ago, it got so bad because the tumors are all up underneath my feet also. They're inside those little bones, and you have a lot of nerve endings in your feet. And those tumors, every time I would step down, it would feel like you're stepping on a Lego. And if you've ever stepped on a Lego, just imagine stepping on several Legos, because I've got several tumors all underneath my feet. And it just got to the point where I was having a hard time moving, just feeling that ripping, burning, that extreme pain every time I made a movement. And it was getting to the point where I never missed any of my kids' functions. There are conferences, like I'm a very involved mom, probably too much, because my kids tend to, think I'm involved a little too much. I'm just kidding. But no, all the conferences, everything, like never missed any of that. And it was getting to the point where I couldn't even make my own kids' conferences. And I had not even left the house in like 2.5, 3 months. When you have 4 kids and not leaving the house for that long, there's something really wrong. And I would get stuck going into the grocery store, like I can make it in, and then I couldn't make it back out. And I would start to get panicked because my legs quit working. At this point in time, I'd already fell 3 times seriously bad and hit my head and had concussions. And so there was a lot of it was painful, and I never knew when my legs were going to give out. So that would put some panic there in me, because I could be walking and then boom, they just give out and I'd hit the ground. So went into the doctor, and by this time I had switched to this doctor that diagnosed me. And she said, Deb, it's time to get you into a wheelchair. They tried to do like the arm crutches first, and even like a walker. But the problem with that is that I have them in my hands. Everything I touch or put pressure on causes extreme pain. And so they knew that wasn't going to work. So they did a specialized wheelchair. And that was a very hard transition in my life, is getting into a wheelchair and losing. I couldn't walk up and down steps very easily. Like I couldn't get in my basement anymore. I was able to walk up a few steps then, but not a lot. It had to have a lot of help. Walking around my house, and I still walk. It's just extremely painful. Being in the wheelchair now allows me to have those moments where I can walk around my house just a little bit. Where if I was having to push myself, like I'd be done. And there's days where the pain and everything is so severe that I can't even get out of bed. And so I've had to learn how to take care of my body, listen to it, do what I know is needed to be done. Sometimes I have to plan my schedule. And so I have to go, okay, I have this big event on this day. So what I need to do is if I have an appointment this day, then I need to take off this day and do absolutely nothing. That way my body is recovered so I can do this big event on this day, because I got to make sure that I can get out of bed and that my body's able to function. You just learn how to adapt. Whenever something like this comes into your life, you learn how to adapt. We've had to, make adjustments to our home. We had to get new flooring down so that I could use my wheelchair in the house if I need to. I'm not allowed to use anything but my wheelchair outside of my home because of the fear of falling and getting another concussion. And I just wouldn't be able to walk very long distances. Very short distance with aided help is usually how I would be able to do it. But it's not worth the risk of another concussion. So we I still fly out once a year to see my specialist, and we are working on. We've already got a van. When we had to go into. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up in my thought process here, but when they got me in the wheelchair, I had to buy a wheelchair van, and just to let you guys know, having a disability is extremely expensive. It is so expensive. We got the chair. It was like $30-some thousand for the chair. The insurance paid for most of it. We had to pay a few grand out of our pockets. But and then we had to get a wheelchair van completely on our own, where we have this van that just the shell of it is worth about $6,000. But since it's has a ramp and a door that automatically opens where I can get up in it, and it's gutted in the middle, and then I pull into the passenger seat and it locks in, and then I transfer over to the driver's seat and drive. To have that all done, that $6,000 van cost us $30,000. So here we are, $60,000 in being disabled, and I can't work. And so, it really is a life adjustment. And then I lost friends. Friends just didn't even, know what to do or say, and they quit inviting me places, and, just because of the unknown of like, can I go? Can I get in? And I'm still the same person. I just can't function like I did before. I had other friends that were just like, it killed them just to see me in a chair, because I knew who I was before and all the things I was capable of doing. And now it just made them sad. And I get that. I had my days where I was sad too, but I still needed those friendships, and it's gotten better. It's gotten better. It just takes an adjustment period, but I went a long time kind of just feeling alone and just trying to adjust to this new life where I had lost a lot. What a lot of people don't know is if there's not a parking spot with one of those wide lines with the stripes, I can't get out of my van unless I take up two spots and park sideways and then let out my ramp. So, there's times where I can't go places. There's nowhere for me to park. Also, like getting into places, if it doesn't have an automatic door, I don't get to go if I'm by myself trying to be independent still. So, you know, um, uh, just bringing awareness about that. If it doesn't have a push button or an automatic door, I can't get in there. So Ulta, can't get in there. Ulta stores are freestanding and they just have a door that you have to open. So unless I have somebody come with me, I can't get in there. I can go to Sephora because they're inside malls and I can just get right in there, but I can't get into Ulta. But I would say 90% of the places, 90 probably, I can't get into, 90% if I'm by myself. But if it has an automatic door, Walmart, Target, all those places, I can get into those places. So that was an adjustment, depending on somebody where there was a period of time I was a single mom with 3 kids before I met my husband that I was a very independent person. I did it all on my own. So to learn how to adjust to being a very, very dependent person was a hard thing to do. I was a clean freak. My house had to be spotless all the time. And I was just go, 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 go. And to go from that to not being able to even move out of bed most days is a huge transition. But I made it. And, I'm content to where I am. And I understand that this will only get worse. It just progresses. And I know that that's what I have to look forward to. I go to doctor's appointments. The one thing that we can do, because it also causes lymphedema, and lymphedema is swelling from the lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system runs alongside of your vascular system. So just like your vascular system, your blood is pumped by your heart, your lymphatic system gets pumped by a lymphatic pump. My lymphatic pumps don't work. So since my lymphatic pumps don't work, I have to manually have that fluid pushed throughout my entire system. Otherwise, I'll just grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger of swelling to the point where I can't bend my legs or my hands or whatever part starts to swell. And so 3 times a week, I have lymphatic therapy. I go in and they manually move that lymphatic fluid throughout my body. So my life is one big appointment because if I'm not seeing just a regular doctor or my specialist, then I'm going 3 times a week to get my lymphatics pumped. And then I also do water therapy. Found a pool or advanced physical therapy that I go through for my lymphatic drainage. They have an area that they're going now where they have a chair lift that lifts you down into the pool. So I transfer from my wheelchair into the chair that lifts me into the pool. And then I am able to get a little bit of movement, a little bit of exercise in the pool with the physical therapist. And that helps pump the lymphatic system. She's there holding on to me. And I'm able to kind of hold on to the wall and move, just do small movements, and they do a lot of floating, and they stretch my back and my spine out when I'm floating, and they just kind of move me side to side and stretch that spine out. And then I'm able to just get my legs moving just a little bit. I'm not swimming or doing aerobics or anything like that, which I would love to do. But I am able to get some of that blood pumping and that lymphatic system pumping by just kind of moving my legs in the water. So that is one thing we're doing for preventative. And I'll have to do that forever because that won't change. So I just think it was important to come on here. Today is the day, well, the day that I'm going to upload this is going to be on Dercums Disease Awareness Day. It's April 4th. And I just thought it was important because if I would have stumbled across a video like this whenever I was out there searching, I could maybe take it and say, could what I'm experiencing be this? And we don't know until we start a conversation and we start talking about it and it starts to get out there. And doctors, I mean, anytime I've had to go in for anything, I'm like, I have Dercums disease. Have you heard this? And a lot of times I'm asked to educate other medical professions. Like when I'm in lymphatic therapy, there's been times where they have students that are like, do you mind explaining to the students what you have and what it is, and so here I am educating other people about what this disease is. And that's the best way to get that word out when you have a rare disease, is just keep talking. And now every once in a while I'll stumble across a doctor that says, yes, I've heard of Dercums disease. They started teaching it in this class or whatever. And so I'm just thankful. I'm thankful because as time goes on and more awareness comes around this disease, that maybe people will be able to catch it earlier and get it treated quicker, and maybe not have to get to the point where I'm at, where I'm, it's progressed with me and limits my daily life. It doesn't have to get to that point. It does limit you with pain, but it doesn't have to get to this point where you are severely stopped by being able to do just physical activity. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. It's a little long. Hopefully you listen to it on 1.5 times speed, where I'm talking like a chipmunk or something like that. But I just thought it was important, and I hope that that maybe if you hear of somebody, that maybe you can share what you've learned today. And I really do hope that you guys have all had a blessed day today, and I hope that you come back soon and see what other videos I have coming up in the future. So, all right, guys, everybody have a great day.